Hello everyone. Hi. Hello, how are you all doing? You're welcome to our live streaming from Abuja, Nigeria. You're welcome. If you can hear me, say I can hear you, please. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, please? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, okay. You said the camera is sideways, so I'll have to change it. Okay, let me do that now. Hello, is it better now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. So, my name is Onyemaenu, the creative director of Comfort World Cakes, Abuja. We're here live on the Cake Expo Facebook page, and I'll be teaching the handbag cake today. I'm happy that you're able to join me, and I'm sure you're going to learn something today. I know you're going to learn something today. You're welcome. 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 Let's give some people some few minutes to join us so they don't miss anything. Let's give some other people a few minutes to join us so they don't miss anything today. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm going to be teaching this. Can you see it? This is what I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be teaching you how I achieved this cake, this beautiful cake. I'm going to be teaching you how I made this beautiful cake. It's a handbag cake. So I'll be teaching you how I made it. So sit back, relax, and learn. You're welcome. Sit back, relax, and learn. Hello. Okay, so I have my cakes here, my pre-baked cakes. This is what I'm going to be using to do the back cake today. So I have my pre-baked cakes. I used the bread pan, the loaf pan to bake it. Have two. And I have the third cake here. So I'm going to be using the 3 cakes to make the handbag cake, okay? So I'll get my board. Are you seeing me? Are you seeing it? I want to be sure you'll see what I'm doing. Can you see what I'm doing? Please, I need a response. Can you see what I'm doing? Is it visible? I need to know if you can see what I'm doing, please. Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much. So I have here my buttercream. This is my pre-made buttercream. It's already prepared. So I'm going to layer my cakes. Now, if you want it to have a thinner layer, you can slice your cakes into 2 each. If you want it to have a thinner layer, but for me, I'm fine with this height, okay? So I'm going to cream my cake. So I'm putting cream on my cake. And I'll put the second layer on it. Can you see it? Okay. So I want to cream the other layer. So I'm going to put the third layer on the cake. So why I'm doing it this tall is because I want it to have a good shape of the handbag. I want it to have a better shape of it. So if you want it to have a good shape, you have to bake it this high, except you're doing a smaller cake. Then you can decide to bake a smaller sizes. But for what I'm doing today, I need this height to be able to achieve what I want, okay? So I want to trim it to get the shape of the handbag. I'm going to be trimming it. But before that, I will insert a dowel rod, okay? This is called the dowel rod. It's wooden. We use it to hold the cakes together so it doesn't move when you are carrying it. It's very important that you insert a dowel rod in your cake. So I'm going to insert 2 dowel rods. Then I will cut it off with my plier. So our cake is secure now, it's secure. So I would like to trim it. I want to trim it to give it the handbag shape. That's what I want to do right now. So I have my serrated knife. It's called serrated knife. It's very sharp. So it enables you to trim your cake properly. So I'll cut it like this. Can you see what I'm doing? I hope you can follow. So trim it. For those of us that is just joining us, this is what I'm making. I'm making the handbag cake. This is what I'm making. So you have idea of what I'm making. So this is what I'm making, okay? So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So I've cut one part. I've cut it to shape. So I'm going to be shaping my cake as well, so it will be nice and straight and smooth. I'll cut the 4 sides, so everything will come out nice and straight and smooth. So for the second part, we're going to be cutting it the way I cut the other part, okay? So I'll slide it like this. So I have this cut off. Can you see it? So I'm going to be trimming the body the way I did with the other part. Can you see it now? So I'll trim the other side. Remember I said we are going to trim the 4 sides to be sure that everywhere is neat and nice. Okay. I think I'm done here. Just give me a minute to clean up the table. Yeah, we have a trimmed. Can you see it? Trimmed cake for our handbag. Hope you can see it. I'm going to be doing is to crumb coat. I need to crumb coat the cake right now before I ice it, okay? So I'm coming back to my buttercream. So I'm going to be using my buttercream to crumb coat it. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Crumb coat. Crumb coat means crumb coat. What I mean is C-R-U-M-B. Crumb. 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 Crumb coat. Crumb coat. Okay. Okay, Jennifer Roberts. Jennifer McRoberts, I'm using American buttercream. That's what I'm using. I'm using American buttercream for the crumb coating. It helps to stick the fondant to the cake and also help in retaining the moisture of your cake. It helps to keep to stick the fondant to your cake and also help to retain the moisture of your cake. That's what buttercream does in your cakes. And it adds taste to it as well. It makes the cake more tastier and creamier. So this is the last part. So I'm done with this. I'm going to be wiping the boards. Yep. Okay, herring pan, I got your question. You say if we can use the bigger bread pan. Yes, that's what I used. If you are doing smaller bag, you can use the smaller pan. But for a big bag like this, you need the bigger bread pan, okay? Gift for your question, that's what I'm using for now for this cake. So when you're doing yours, you can use American buttercream as well. So this is my crumb coated cake. Don't know if you can see it. I'm ready to cover the fondant. So I have my white fondant here. This is my white pliable fondant that I'm going to be using, okay? So before I decorate the cake, I covered it with a thin layer of fondant, okay? Because we're going to have extra coverage after this first covering. So the first covering has to be very thin, so your cake will not be too heavy with fondant, with too much fondant. So I'm using vegetable softener to rub my table because I want it to be nice and neat. So I roll up my fondant now. Can you all see me? So I'm rolling my fondant to a thin layer. I want it to be very, very thin. I hope you can see what I'm doing, please. Let me know if you can't see what I'm doing so I adjust my camera. Hope you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll just roll up the fondant with my smoother, my rolling pin, and get my cake. Here is my cake, and I'll just cover it up. So I'll just cut off the excess of the fondant. So I'll clean up my board for any mess that I've made from the buttercream, okay? Okay, so here is our covered cake. This is the first step for the design that I'm going to be doing. So I'm good to go. Here it is. So next is to start the decoration. So I'll need the stencil. I need the stencil for the design. I'll need this mold. I don't know if you can see it properly. I'm using this mold. For those that join in late, this is what I'm making. This is what I'm making, okay? So I'm going to be using this mold, stencil, royal icing. I'm using black royal icing. Black royal icing. I'm using silver dust, edible spirits, zip mold. This mold is for zip. Then I'll need the stitching wheel. And my red fondant. I'll need 20 gauge wire, florist wire, or you can use 18 gauge for the handle. Then I'll need my small rolling pin. My brushes, florist tape. Why I brought the florist tape is because before you insert your wire in any cake, you're meant to secure it because it's toxic. So I usually use my florist tape to secure it before I insert it to my cakes. It's very important. So I'm going to be doing that now. So I've secured it with the florist tape. So I need just 2 florist wire for this. As I said earlier, before you insert your wire into your cakes, make sure to secure it with your florist tape, okay? It's very important because the wire is toxic. We have metal inside. It can be rusty, you know what it does to cakes. It can contaminate your cake, so it's very important that you secure it. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to prepare this mold to cover the bottom part of the cake, the bottom part. So I'll show you how I made it because I already have some pre-made ones that I'll be using. I get my fondant, and I rub shortening, vegetable shortening on it. I usually use vegetable shortening to rub the mold before before I do my molds. So I'll start to fix in the molds, the fondant in the mold quickly. So here it is. When you fix your fondant in your mold, be sure to see the line, the design on the particular mold. So what it means is all your fondant should be within the design. There should not be extra left outside. So you start trimming. There's no need for that. So if you fix it this way, it's flat and smooth, and you can see the design around the mold. That means you're good to go. So you flip your mold upside down and start to remove it. Here we go. So we have our molds and our fondants ready. So I have some pre-made ones that I'm going to be using because of time. So I will start to stick it to my cake. So I put water at the back, or you can use sugar glue if you want. You can mix a fondant with water to do that. But I'm using water here. It works also. Excuse me. So start to stick. Can you see what I'm doing? Please let me know if you're seeing it, please. Can you see it? So you see the reason why I asked that the cake is being covered with a thin layer of fondant, because this is another extra layer to the cake. So it's good to cover with a thin layer so you don't have too much fondant around it. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Please, if you cannot see, let me know, so I'll do some adjustments. Okay. So I'll be stopping here for the front because we have another design on top of it. We have another design on top of it. So I'll start to fix it all around. Can you see it better now? Is it better? Okay, I think the light's reflection was too much, so I had to reduce it. Okay, I'm going to be fixing it all around. I'm going to go all round. All round. No place to be left. So I'm still fixing the molds all around the cake. Okay, I think I'm almost there. Just one line left and I'm done. Okay, I think I'm good to go now. Now when you're fixing this, look out for the joining, okay? You have to look out for the joining because we are putting together different layers, okay? Because if you don't look out for the joining, you're going to see lines all over your cake. So you look out for the joining and see if it's not properly placed, then you can now adjust. You have to adjust it to make sure the mold is properly placed, okay? Very, very important. So you don't end up doing something that you will not, at the end of the day, you won't like it. Okay, so next step. The next step is to do my stencil. This is the top part of the bag. The top part, how I achieve it. So you're going to see how I achieve it. So I'm using this skin, what do you call it now? Leopard skin stencil. So first of all, I'll roll out my fondant, my white fondant. I'm using white fondant. I'll roll out my white fondant. To the shape of the top part. Just you roll what is going to cover the top part of the remaining part. The remaining part that you don't have mold on. So that's what we are rolling right now. You can use your measuring tape to measure it and measure the two sides to get the exact fondant that you will need there. So what I'm going to be doing now is, in case you don't have a measuring tape with you, what you do is you just cut out a little piece of fondant and measure it. So we know we're still going to roll more on this to get the actual size. Okay. So I have it now. So to get the second part, you use the fondant and measure it same way you did the other part. So here it is. I'm going to be cutting off the excess. So here it is. So what I'm going to do now is to stencil my fondant. So I'll use the stencil, I'll put it on top of my fondant. royal icing to stencil it. Are you seeing what I'm doing? I hope you're seeing it. I want to be sure you're seeing what I'm doing, please. So I'm going to just remove the stencil. This is what I got. You see it? So I will just set it aside to dry a bit, okay? It's very important that you set it aside to dry a bit. Very, very important. If not, the whole thing will smudge and you won't like it. So while we allow that to dry, I'm going to be making the handle for the bag. So this is the 20 gauge wire I taped earlier. I'm going to be using it to make the handbag, the handle of the bag. So what I normally do is, when I cut, because I'm doing two handles, right? And I want the two handles to be equal. I don't want one to be bigger than one. So what I do is I get my measuring scale and I measure. So I'm measuring it, so this is 100 grams. So I have 100 grams and 100 grams here. So I'll have the exact size. So next thing is to roll it to a round ball, a smooth round ball. Here we are. So I'm rolling this to another smooth round ball. So I'm going to be forming a sausage, okay? So what I'll do is I will insert the wire into the sausage like this. The second one, I've formed another sausage. So I'm going to roll out the sausage to get the exact size and shape that I want. Here we go. I hope you're learning. So this is the second. You see the reason why I taped my florist wire, because I'm going to be inserting this part into my cake. So it's very important that you secure it with your florist tape. So we are ready. So you can even do it the same day and put your handles and your handbag is good to go. So you don't need to stress for it to wait, for it to dry before you put it. You can do it on the go. So our bag hand is ready. So the next thing I'm going to do is the zip with the red fondant. Here's my zip mold. So I have my red fondant. We're going to be forming the zip quickly. Watch out for message from Watch out message from Jennifer, okay?
Yeah, she just contact.
Okay. Jennifer Noble, okay? So yes, my zip mold is ready. So before I fix this on it, I'll have to fix the stenciled fondant on it first. Okay, so we are ready for it. I'll just put some water. As I said, you can use sugar glue. Sugar glue is fondant mixed with water. But I'm fine with water. It works very well. Okay, so I'm going to be fixing the leopard skin. And cut off the excess. Here we go. So can you see it? Don't worry about the line here because we're going to be putting a strip here to block off that part. So the next thing to do is to fix our red strip on the top of the bag. So I'll roll the fondant, the red fondant to be precise. So here is our red fondant. As I said earlier, if you're not with your measuring tape, you can cut the strip and just measure where you want it to be, and you have the size. This is what I need. So I used to measure and I cut off the excesses. So I'm going to be shaping it to however I want it to be. Okay. Okay, so I'm ready. Because it's a handbag, there's usually some stitching lines along the edges of the cuts. So what I'll do to that is to use my stitching wheel to create that effect. I use to create the effect on the fondant. I don't know if you can see it. So I will just place it on top. Can you see it? I hope you can see it. So now we are going to the zip. I will remove the zip, the fondant from the zip, and add some water as well, and just stick it to the top of the cake. Here we go. Can you see it? So the next thing is to do the strip that's going to be blocking any hole around here. So I'm going to roll for that. I hope you're learning something. I hope you're learning. And I hope I'm still loud and clear. So as I said, you cut a strip to measure where you are going to block. So I have this. Now if you want it to be very, very, very accurate, you need your multi-ribbon cutter. So you put the size that you want. Now I have this size, I'm fine with this size. So I'm going to be using it to cut my strip. So I have this. Then I'm going to apply water as usual. Make more comments. Question. So I will block off the excess. I will block off the front parts to give it a nice design and a final look. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to fix the handle of the handbag. Don't forget, as I said earlier, you're meant to measure your fondant so you have the same measurements for the two hands. So one hand will be bigger than the other. So what you do is you measure it with your scale so you are sure. If you're doing 100 grams here, make sure to have 100 grams here. And this is the florist wire that I used, and I had to tape it with my florist tape before I insert it into my cake, because it's toxic. It has metal inside, the rust, so you don't contaminate the cake. So what you do is to tape it with your florist tape before you insert it into your cake. So I'm going to be fixing it now. How is it? How is it looking already? Is it looking beautiful? So fast and nice and beautiful. So the last thing we are going to be doing on this, not the last thing, sorry. The next thing is going to be this design here. Now, it depends on what you want to use there. If you want to customize the bag, you can use LV, you can use Chanel, any MK, you can use MK, but I'm using this to customize my bag, which is the rose petal cutter. That's what I used to do this, okay? So I'm going to cut red fondant. So I have my red fondant. I'll cut the petal, the rose petal cutter. Here we go. So there is a rope that is hanging around it. The rope that I'm going to use to fix it, to make it look more real. I'll just take a little paste and roll it to thin. Do it thin. You see, it's so thin. Now we're ready. So I'm just going to use the bottom of my paintbrush to insert a hole. You know, we are trying to make it look real, okay? So you insert a hole in it, then you pass the rope. So I just pass the rope. Now we're going to fix it here. Any position you want it to be. I'll fix it here. I should come down a bit. Come down? Yeah. So I'm coming down a bit. So I'm just going to tie it to the other end and roll it out nicely. Can you see it? Simple and straight to the point. So the last thing we're going to be doing is to dust this part to silver. So sorry, before we dust, I was supposed to dust it before fixing this, okay? So I'm just going to nicely remove it and drop it and dust. We'll go back to it later. Yes. So I'm going to be sitting here to do the dusting. So I have my silver dust. And I have my edible spirit, okay? If you happen to see any stain in your cake, what you do is just take your tissue, touch it in water, and clean. Wipe it off, okay? Don't be scared that you have ruined it. No, you haven't. There's always solution to everything. There's always a solution to everything. You see, it's nice and clean. So we're going to be painting with silver. You can decide to use gold. You can use silver, depending on the color that you're using for the particular cake. But for this, I used silver. So I have my silver dust here. And I'm going to be adding my edible spirits. You can get it in cake shops. So I have my paintbrush. I want to start to paint. Now, if you want to start to paint whatever cake you want to paint, I would advise you get a white tissue. You put it on the board so you don't ruin it before you start painting. In case you're painting it on the cake, not before you place on the board. So I was painting now, and it's shining, coming out beautiful and shining. Can you see it? I hope you can see it clearly. Can you see it? The look is changing gradually. It's getting better and getting shinier. So you paint it all the way through. So if you have any stain on the board, just what I usually do is, instead of using water to clean it, because I used edible spirit, I'll just take a little edible spirit and put in my towel to wipe the board. It comes up easily with that, okay? Instead of water, just use your edible spirit to wipe your board. So we are good to go. So now we are back to our design for the front. To just place it like this. Can you see it? I present to you the handbag cake. So here is the finished products. Here is the finished products. Here is the finished products. Joyce, you said what kind of board? It's colored board, so you don't get to cover it. We have different colors in it. We have the red, blue, black, depending on what you want. We have white. Thank you so much for watching. Can you see it? Here is our finished products. Here is our finished products. As I said earlier, my name is Onyemaenu, the creative director of Comfort World Cakes, Abuja. Here is our finished product. I'm sure you learned something today. Please, we need feedback. We need your comments. Any questions? Do you have any? So sorry for that shot. Here is our finished product. Any question? I need it. Thank you so much, Owen Johnson. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila Cakes. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Leslie. Favor. Thank you. Angel, thank you. Angel Weaver, thank you. Teresa, thanks for the emoji. Thank you. Okay, Ruth, the other side looks exactly like the front. The other side looks exactly like the front, Ruth. Okay, the fondant is icing sugar, gelatin, glucose syrup, and CMC. That's what I use for the fondant. Okay, gifts. I reside in Abuja. You can go to Comfort World Cakes and get that information. Nancy, thank you so much. God bless you too. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, and God bless you. If you're not yet a member of the ICES, International Cake Exploration Society, I will advise you become a member. Get information from this page. You can send a DM. You can get some links to log on to ask how you can become a member of this association. It's an international body. You will learn a lot. This is just a tip of the iceberg. You will learn so much. We learn every day from ICES, Cake International Exploration Society. We learn a lot. We travel for conventions. We meet cake brothers and sisters. We get to network and all. So it's very important that you become a member of the International Cake Exploration Society. So you are invited to become a member. Thank you so much for having me.